Good morning. Just installed Tesla FSD Supervised 13.2.7. Here are the release notes. Don't see any obvious differences from 13.2.2. There was apparently a bug in 13.2.2, or at least in the updates after that time, that prevented updating until now. So it was a longer than normal cycle, having skipped several versions to come to this version, which is now being pushed out pretty much to everybody. So we'll go ahead and drive from the Poinciana area to the Lake Nona area. So it says this is an hour and 13 minutes. It's usually closer to an hour and a half. We'll see how long it really takes in the traffic, and as usual, I'll speed up the non-speaking parts since that'd be quite a long video. So I'm in the driveway. Let's see if it'll take us out. The release notes did mention that this is more end-to-end. It'll unpark you, pull you out of our place, park you at the destination. See how it compares to the previous version. They tried at least some of this. So we're using an Insta360 camera in single camera mode, recording 30 frames a second, 4K video.
In 500 feet,
75 degrees, a little humid outside. So until things dry up, the wind of view may not be the best.
Now enter the roundabout and take the first exit.
It's interesting because the in-cabin camera will fuss immediately if you grab your telephone, but it'll let you eat and drink while you're driving on FSD. Seldom has anything to say about that. So I'm drinking my Diet Coke. I had an incident a few nights ago driving in this part of the neighborhood, actually fairly late, wasn't a lot of traffic, and interestingly there was a group of 8 deer on the side of the road on my right. I was not on the autopilot or on the FSD, I was manually driving around the speed limit of 25 miles an hour, and I was trying to pay attention to the 8 deer on the right as I drove through, and didn't see 2 more deer on the left getting ready to cross the road, and the second one ran right into the front of the car and was knocked about 10 feet back from the car, got up and ran off somehow. So this was not on FSD, but we had been led to understand that the car would do things to avoid collisions. And this did happen pretty quickly, and the deer was a small one, meaning he barely was taller than the hood of the car. When he got a body block from the front end of the car, which sustained no damage, no marks, no blood on the road. But who knows if he had internal injuries since he got knocked back about 10 feet. But the car did not attempt to brake or maneuver away from this side threat. Not saying that anybody said it was going to, officially from Tesla, but there are lots of videos posted of Teslas supposedly automatically braking or swerving to avoid collisions even when the autopilot's turned off. I just haven't seen anything official as to whether that's really happening or not.
In 500 feet, enter the roundabout.
The human drivers tend to react pretty fast in those circumstances, and there may well be some confusion about who is doing the avoiding in those cases.
Now enter the roundabout and take the second exit.
Incidentally, several of my books published on Amazon have the Kindle versions on a free book promotion today and tomorrow only. So if you're interested, you may want to check those out. These are books of history and historical fiction. You can just search my name, Donald Elton, on Amazon to see the list. So we got a gate to go through here with a speed bump in front. We do see a line on the display indicating where the gate is, and we're coming to a stop and waiting for the gate to open. Several versions ago, I would have to brake to avoid hitting that gate sometimes. And the last 2 or 3 times, it's actually slowed down enough to allow barricades to open, which is something it repeatedly failed on many previous versions. Of course, I haven't had a chance to test this 13.2.7 version since it just installed within the hour. In one of the recent Tesla meetings, Elon Musk made an interesting point that the FSDs requiring you not to touch your phone while driving actually has some adverse safety consequences, as it causes FSD drivers to deactivate FSD, check their phone, and then reactivate FSD. You could argue that using your phone while FSD is in use is actually safer than deactivating FSD and using your phone with nobody paying attention to the road. But I believe the attention monitoring is government mandated, at least for the time being. So hopefully that's just a temporary thing while we're in this supervised mode. I brought up the point before, when and if they ever go to unsupervised, the liability issues will be kind of interesting to see where that sorts out. How both insurers or even the police will handle liability for accidents if you're driving FSD unsupervised. Because whether you're supposed to supervise or not, as the owner of the vehicle, there probably is going to be some liability involved in that. Even if someone else claimed to take responsibility for the accidents as the owner of the device, you're going to have some liability. Much like you would as a homeowner. If somebody trips on your sidewalk, you may not have built the sidewalk, but it's on your property. There might be a chain of liability there. And whether Tesla or insurance sees otherwise, there's nothing to prevent a plaintiff from coming after you as the owner if the attorney determines that you have sufficient assets to be worth their trouble. So what do you think? If we have unsupervised FSD, will sleeping be allowed? Will having the driver's seat unoccupied be allowed? Would it be a good idea? How safe would the system have to be for you to trust it like that? Working on your laptop? Many possibilities there. So the GPS says it's an hour to destination now for 34 miles. Every time I take this route, depending on the time of day, the route is different because of varying traffic. And given the distance, there are a lot of different ways to get there. But a lot of GPSs are trying to avoid traffic, and sometimes the detour around the traffic ends up having more traffic than the original route, thanks to all the people detouring and following their GPSs. People have complained about this using the Waze app, which tends to be creative in avoiding longer routes. When suddenly neighborhoods get overwhelmed with people taking shortcuts. So right now I have the car in standard mode. I'd had it in hurry mode, but it tended to do a lot of lane changes. So I'm doing standard mode a while just to see really how much difference there really is. I think the difference between standard and hurry mode is fairly subtle though. And a lot of people on Twitter were talking about the speed limit offset, with Tesla recommending 40% above the speed limit. I have mine set at 15%. A rock from the road a couple weeks ago popped up in my windshield, making a little star pattern in the glass. I checked with State Farm, and their deal was no deductible if you repair the windshield, $1,000 deductible if it's replaced. I went with a repair because the size was only a couple of centimeters, 1 or 2 centimeters. The people from Safe Light came out. I don't know if I can tell a difference or not. I still see about the same as I did before. I may have to investigate to see if they really did something with that repair or not. It's a little smoother on the outside, but the visual appearance from the inside hasn't really changed. I was guessing, perhaps incorrectly, that a repair involved grinding down to the level of the cracks and filling in with some kind of epoxy or something. But maybe this is only to fill the exterior ding in the glass and not really to do any interior repair. The good news is it's not in my normal field of vision, so I really don't even notice it unless I'm looking for it. So we'll wait and see if it remains stable or not. So this GoPro 360, as always, is mounted on a selfie stick wedged between the center console and the driver's seat, with the camera just slightly lower than my eyes are. In case you're wondering, this is a 2024 Tesla Model Y Performance that I traded up from another Tesla Model Y non-performance version about 11 months ago, and I currently have about 39,000 miles on the car in that first 11 months. GPS now says 58 minutes to destination, 30 miles to go. The camera's getting a little warm, so I'm trying to direct the air conditioning to aim more towards the camera, but who knows if that's going to make a meaningful difference.
Now turn left onto Mercantile Lane. In 500 feet, turn right onto South Poinciana Boulevard.
So I have a message that we're navigating without connectivity. But as you can see, we actually do have connectivity through a Starlink mini device, which I have mounted with a suction cup mounts on the inside of the moonroof here, with a good signal. And the speed test right now,
turn right onto South
I'm running on my phone. It shows 138 megabits per second, so there definitely is connectivity. But the car, for some reason, thinks there is not. A lot of traffic here, of course. So we'll see if we need to help it with the merge. There are about 50 cars waiting behind me too. So yep, we're taking the gap. And it still says navigating without connectivity. No longer showing any traffic for the entire route. If we check the screen, it shows that we have a connection there with Starlink 57 in my case. So it's showing relatively long ping times, but signal strength is good. Download speed, doing okay, since it doesn't really have that much it needs to be downloading. Maybe it's a server side issue. So the traffic is building up. The destination time keeps getting longer. We're still at 59 minutes. After 34 minutes in the drive. Many of these navigation detours probably end up costing you time in the long run. They can look at the traffic at the point when you leave, when they choose these routes, but they don't do such a good job of predicting the future. And sometimes leaving as little as 10 minutes earlier for work will shave 30 minutes off the commute time. This community of Poinciana has about 70,000 residents, the vast majority of which work up in Orlando. So in the morning there's a huge traffic jam going north, and in the afternoon a huge traffic jam going south. Maybe it's time to open up another Coke Zero. Hey, somebody bought a book. What a deal. So what are your thoughts about Tesla-to-Tesla communication? Meaning the possibility that your Tesla could take advantage of intelligence data on the traffic or hazards ahead observed by other Teslas in your area. the communication would likely not come directly from the other car. Hard to see how that could work. But there might be some usefulness to have certain types of data shared with the network in general and pushed out to cars to whom it might be relevant. They say they're already doing this for things like road closures, but you could probably use this as well to report accidents and other road hazards or blockages. If the bandwidth improves enough, there might even be a role for direct car-to-car communication. Not so much that you'd be sending chats to other cars, but a user could perhaps give permission to share anonymously images of the road conditions, such as still pictures and so on. If you want to see how things looked a few miles ahead, or get a better view for why your car is not moving. Lots of possibilities there. Of course, you don't need that stuff to be too much of a distraction. Some of the communication might just be handled internally by the FSD with alerts to the driver only when really necessary. But Tesla is uniquely situated to offer that sort of feature, particularly as the quantity of Teslas on the road with AI features increases even further than it already is. We're coming through a speed zone, a school zone, I should say. And in the previous videos, I showed that the car basically ignores school zones. Of course, here with the traffic, we're only going 6 miles an hour, so who knows if we're ignoring this or not. We do see the lights flashing on the screen, which is a new thing. That would show those lights flashing as green when in real life they're flashing yellow. So we'll see if there are any school zones we pass through at normal speeds to tell if it's recognized or not. That may not happen during rush hour. Says 31 minutes to go, 24 miles. We're 57 minutes into the drive.
1 to 3.
Meaning something. So the hit.
Stop.
So that toll plaza said 25 mile an hour speed limit. We made no effort to slow down from our 52 miles an hour. In keeping with the other traffic, I guess. So when we get to unsupervised FSD, who has to pay for traffic tickets? And will the car even pull over if a police officer comes behind and tries to pull you over? How will the car handle that if it's unoccupied doing Robo taxi duty? Is anyone thinking about that? It just seems to me that even if the car were capable, that robo-taxi is a long way away. To be able to do it without some kind of human intervention. So what if there's a police roadblock and the police officer wants to tell the driver, you need to make a U-turn and go down 5th Street? How's the car going to be able to respond to that? So far, knock on wood, the FSD has been basically perfect. Version 13.2.7. This is the first drive. Fairly long drive with lots of bumper-to-bumper traffic. So we're coming up on the exit from the Beltway here. So we need to be heading over into that right lane pretty soon.
Now take exit 23 on the right.
Not the best, because that lane started half a mile back and we took it at the last second. So we still got here, but it was kind of a late lane change because we had a right turn lane available well in advance there that we didn't take advantage of and very nearly missed the turn.
Then turn right.
So that's the closest thing to an error on this drive of about an hour and a half.
Now turn right onto West Park Road. Now turn
So
right.
we'll see if it tries to park here.
Now your destination is on the right.
So it came to a stop in front of the destination, so I'll go ahead and disconnect. And it's not really making an effort to offer me parking. Oh, there it is. So not bad. See you next time.